Well, yesterday in Capitol Hill, the Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer sharply attacked a proposal to give the president an immigration enforcement slush fund, as he called it.
Leader McConnell proposed the bipartisan Senate DHS bill, which has $1.6 billion for border security, plus a $1 billion slush fund for the president to use for his radical immigration agenda. I called Leader McConnell and told him we would not accept their $1 billion slush fund and that our offers to fund the government remain.
Now, don't take those words the wrong way. The problem Democrats have is with border enforcement. They don't have a problem with slush funds. Congress loves slush funds. That's why for years, Congress has maintained a slush fund at your expense, taxpayer funded, to pay off people who accuse members of Congress of sexual harassment. The Democrats will control the House in just a couple of weeks, of course. Are they going to end the slush fund? And more to the point, will they tell us who's been protected by it? What are the names? Penny Nance is president of Concerned Women for America, and she joins us tonight. Penny, thanks so much for coming on. This seems like a very simple ask. Why shouldn't the public know who got paid with our money to settle these claims?
That's a very good question. And by the way, Concerned Women for America members sent thousands of petitions asking Congress to tell us. Over 20 years, 264 cases, $15 million of our money was paid out to hide what members of Congress did. And these weren't little allegations. These were big things. We had the case of Blake Farenthold, who sexually harassed his communications director, shared his sexual fantasies about her, and when she dared to complain, he fired her. And you remember Eric Massa and his groping of young men, and then he called it tickle fights. He had to pay out $100,000 of our money. Taxpayer money. And we were never paid back. Now, Congress did just pass a piece of compromise legislation, but it doesn't do anything about what we just talked about. It doesn't pay back at all the slush fund that the taxpayers paid out to cover up the wrongdoing by members of Congress.
Now, do we know the identities of the people on whose behalf these payments were?
No. And we have tried, and by the way, FOIA doesn't apply to Congress. Isn't that interesting?
So so Nancy Pelosi, who obviously is America's chief defender of women, I mean,
right.
She's told us that many times, and a deeply good person, she's told us that too. She'll be in charge of this, so she can release these names if she wanted to. Will she want to? Will she?
We have called on her to do that, but she so far has chosen to shield her colleagues. She even went as far as to say that John Conyers was a hero in A Great America. Remember, John Conyers was hosting meetings with his staff in his underwear and was caught on film, caught on video on a airline flight on the taxpayer dollars watching porn. This is the guy, by the way, who used to be the Judiciary Committee chairman who had oversight over pornography. So you can't make this stuff up. The new bill does make some improvements and going forward requires restitution, but it's not clear whether or not even men will know for sure going forward who actually is the perpetrator. Because in the new legislation, you just disclose the office. It could be the chief of staff, it could be the ledge director, it could be the press secretary, and like they're going to write out their boss.
Or it could be the member.
It could be the member, and that's the point. We've got to have more transparency, and we're not going to let this go.
You will keep pushing.
I will keep pushing, I promise.
Penny Nance, it seems like a simple ask.
It does.
I hope you get it.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.